That's the not the sac.
So what is all this stuff out here?
Adipose.
So this is the adipose tissue. So obviously sheeps do not benefit from the American diet either. All right, and if we pull away the adipose tissue, you begin to see this sac right here, and that is the pericardial sac. And if you want to come up and pull on it, it's pretty tough. All right.
Like
or
chicken.
I'm pretty weak. Probably a little bit of both.
Is that one of the layers of the heart?
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and flip it over. Yours does not have one. This is the only one that has one. I just wanted to show you the pericardial sac and all the connective tissue surrounding it. And then once you get in, you can actually start to see the heart. And so I just wanted you to see that. So let's see. The 3 layers of the heart, what layer am I touching? Epicardium. If I were to go into the muscle, that would be the myocardium. And if I was to open it up,
endo.
You would see it's nice and shiny and slick inside, lining the chambers. That would be the endocardium. And you can feel it's really slick. It's a nice slick layer. So, okay, that's a little bit better. You can kind of see the nice slick of the endocardium. Yeah, so touchy-feely. This is a nice little touchy-feely lab. Not with your fingers. Wow.
You like rub your eye. Now you got worms in your eye.
Make sure that you know anything that's listed under here. So adipose tissue cushions heart, serves as energy reserve. And so there's lots of adipose tissue even on the heart itself. And it's kind of hard to see the coronary vessels. You can dig. We're not really going to dig tonight, though, because it's hard to, it takes a lot of time. So the auricles are right here. So there's one auricle, and here is the other auricle. Looks kind of hidden because it's kind of covered with fat again. Alrighty. Talked about the myocardium. And so then you want to be able to identify front and back. And so generally if you lie it on your hand, it's going to lie flat right there. That's going to be the posterior part. It's more rounded in the front. Yours might be a little deformed depending on how it was packed in the packaging and how long it was squished like that.
The flat side is the dorsal side now?
Yes, is the dorsal side. The pointed part is the apex. And so you want to be able to identify anterior, posterior. So the flatter part is posterior. And you should anterior be able to identify this blood vessel. Which blood vessel is that? It's flush to the front. I mean, it runs right along the surface. It's going to be the pulmonary
artery.
Trunk.
Oh, yeah. The
pulmonary trunk.
Is that where oxygen poor blood comes in to the right?
No, so the oxygen poor blood is going to go out the pulmonary trunk and out the pulmonary arteries to the lungs.
Oh, to get oxygen.
Does that one have semilunars in it too?
Yes. At the base of this, they're going to be pulmonary semilunar valves. Now, if you look here, remember we have these 3 blood vessels coming off. Do you remember what they were called? What was the first one?
Aorta? No.
Well, that's the aorta. Coming off the aorta, we have the brachiocephalic, and we have the left common carotid artery and the left subclavian. So really what we might be able to see is the equivalent of the brachiocephalic. But in animals, we call this first blood vessel the innominate artery. So just for this practical, since you're just learning, you can call it brachiocephalic. But in the last practical, you're going to have to call it by the real name. So you can call it either if you like. So here is my aorta. So notice you go behind the pulmonary trunk. Right behind it, kind of smack dab in the center, is going to be your aorta. If you're lucky, if they didn't chop it off too low, you will get the innominate artery. The equivalent in us is the brachiocephalic. Very good. So some of you may not have that equivalent because it got chopped off. Now, let's see how lucky we are in, I don't have much. Let me see, do you have anything? Oh, you have a...
You got a lot of stuff. You got your...
I'm not going to cut it, don't worry. And so if you go even, so in the front you have the pulmonary trunk, kind of in the middle was the aorta. Moving back, you're going to see the superior and the opening to the inferior vena cava. So superior on the top and inferior vena cava. Now again, most of yours will be chopped off, so he got kind of lucky.
And those are always on the posterior?
You're going to see it in the back. And if you kind of dig in the fat, in the back, you're going to see that area right there. That's the coronary sinus.
The line, the crown that goes around, right?
The little bump right there?
The coronary sinus is where you're going to get the poorly oxygenated blood from the heart. It's going to go into the right atrium. And so you can get your probe in there and go in there. But you could actually find the opening of the coronary sinus if you can get your probe in there. It's in there somewhere. You have to kind of wiggle it around. Okay? So what you're going to do, did we do all the external stuff? We did. Oracles. Okay. So, and then where's the other one? Oracles. What else we got? Aorta. We talked about that. Okay, good. Now, the pulmonary veins and arteries are more than likely gone. They probably got chopped off. So you're going to, I'll give you your heart, right? Okay, I don't want to touch your heart. What you're going to do is you're going to find the right side and the left side. So this is the right side. Remember, the pulmonary trunk is going to lean a little to the left. And that always tells me, oh, that's it. The pulmonary trunk is pointing to the left. You can go ahead and you're going to go in through the right auricle. And from the right auricle, you're going to go into the right atrium, down to the right ventricle. So you're going to go from atrium to ventricle. On both sides, you're going to do this, from atrium to ventricle. Once you've made, it's hard. Once you've made some wiggle room in there, you can go ahead and remember, take pictures before you start cutting it up. Go ahead, take your probe, kind of wiggle it. There, it came right on out. And then you're going to take your scalpel, and you want to be careful because the scalpel is generally sharp. I usually kind of hold it up against the side there, and then I cut down to the probe. And just little cuts. Don't push too hard. Just do it gently because you don't want to come back and go, ugh. All right.
Cut away from yourself.
Yes, I know, but I know. My husband pay you. And pull it out. Once you have that initial cut, you can look down and you're going to see the wall of the interventricular septum. And generally, I'd like to kind of cut. There, I'm away from myself. There we go. So I can open it up like a book. There we go. Alrighty.
And that's all going to be that really, really, really smooth endocardium inside?
Correct. And so, the top chamber is what?
The right atrium.
The right atrium. And I can ask you, what is the state of oxygenation in that? Is that poorly oxygenated or highly oxygenated?
Poorly.
Poorly. Alrighty. And then the valve then between the atrium and the ventricle is the?
Semilunar valve?
No, remember there's chordae tendineae, so it has to be an AV valve. This is the right atrioventricular valve, also known as the?
Oh, we just said it today.
Tricuspid valve.
Yeah.
And tri means 3, so you should be able to find the 3 little flaps. I can see one flap, and you kind of have to dig around the other flap and another one. So you can find the flaps. I see the 3. You can also see the strings. They're the chordae tendineae. And you can even, what's that? Even see like the little papillary muscle right there as well. Okay, so you did one side. Is this right or left?
That's the right.
This is the right side. Look at the thickness of the myocardium. And remember, we went in through the superior vena cava, and so that would make it the right side. Now, usually people have a hard time finding the left because they really chop it short for some reason. So, careful you don't sprain your finger. So again, from the atrium to the ventricle, from the left atrium to the left ventricle, you're going to go in there.
From the left atrium?
Mm-hmm. And you're going to go ahead and cut. Okay, I'm going to cut away from myself there.
Is left atrium deeper than the auricle?
The auricle makes up the walls of the atrium. So remember, the auricle is just the external walls of the atrium. Alrighty. Is that a safer cut?
Yes. Your husband would be proud.
Yes, he would. I cut myself, yes. If you didn't cut, because the left side is thicker, you might have to kind of hold it open and then do your little cut. Because
and you went through the left, you went up through the left ventricle, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see chordate tendon.
Oh, yes, you do. Alrighty. So then I went in. So definitely look at the thickness of the myocardium there. Woo! Get a load of that as compared to. So. Really sad. So.
But that's because it has to pump the blood further.
Farther, correct. And so again, you can see the chordae tendineae anchored down to the papillary muscles. And you know what valve is right here? It's got chordae tendineae. It's going to be an AV valve. So this is the bicuspid, also known as the mitral valve or left atrioventricular valve. And again, you can kind of look for the valves. So once you've done that, then you can kind of do this blind cut thing. You'll always have to itch once you start dissecting. Now remember, where the semilunar valves are at the base of what two vessels? The pulmonary trunk. You have the pulmonary semilunar valve. And the aorta. You have the aortic semilunar valve. And you can probably, sometimes if you get your forceps look in there, you can kind of see them once you go in there. So it's kind of a blind cut. And so you can do a cut right off and just kind of cut off the top, which I did on this one already. I keep one preserved.
Just put a little bit of glue on it.
There we go. So you just, there you go. And so you can see the thick-walled aorta. And if you go in there, I didn't cut quite as deep as I should have because it is a blind cut. But you can see the little flaps of the aortic semilunar valve in there. You can see those little flaps. Get in there, okay. And then you can also see them on the pulmonary trunk.
So I guess just a general question. The heart has two inlets.
Well, okay, so if you want two inlets, the heart, if you look at this picture, you have the superior vena cava empties into the right atrium, the inferior vena cava empties into there, and in the back you have the coronary sinus dumps into there. So you have three things dumping into the right atrium. Now on the left side over here, you have the pulmonary veins bringing in blood. So they're coming in here and here and here and here. But all four of these are dumping into the left atrium. But you won't see those on your heart because they're always chopped off. I've never seen them on a heart. Okay? So kind of keep your internal picture out and look. Go ahead and get started and let me know if you need any help.
So then